This is Rhonda Trice, and I'm interviewing Mr. Willie Walton, and it's 6:30, and today is March the 14th, 1974. Mrs. Walton, would you tell us about your place of birth?
Paris, Texas. Paris, Texas.
Paris, Texas. When was you born?
1892, as far as I can remember. 1892.
Who were your parents?
My parents was James Henry Walton. My mother's name was Maggie Walton. Maggie.
Did you have any brothers and sisters?
Had one brother, Henry Walton.
Henry?
Didn't have no sisters.
Can you describe your hometown?
Paris? Oh, it's burnt down since we left there.
Oh.
Yeah, it's been built back since.
Can you tell us anything, as you growed up in your childhood days?
Oh, yes, we picked cotton. We picked cotton, and then we chopped cotton. We chopped wood. In the summertime, didn't get to go to school, and we taken let's see, what can I say? We all the year we picked cotton, we shook corn, and we taken and picked cotton for 30 cents a hundred, and in Texas, and then 1907 we come to this country, Oklahoma, and we taken travels here in a wagon and a team, and we come to Langston. We got to Langston in 1907, 18th day of October, when we got to Langston in 1907. We stayed all night there, down on the creek there, right east of Langston. And the old fellow by the name of Old Man Cash, he taken us over in Payne County the next day. Went to a fellow's place by the name of Arl Thorntley, and he had 50 acres of cotton, and he offered us $1.00 to pick it. And that was the first cotton I'd ever picked in my life, $1.00. And we picked cotton, and the old man would get us out there as early as we could see, keep us out there late could be, look like, and seen more apples, and we get apples for 25 cents a bushel. We'd buy hogs for $4 a piece, weighed 200 pounds. We had all the meat and the apples, and corn were 15 cents a bushel. We cut wood for 50 cents a rick. 1978, we cut wood for 50 cents a rick, and we stayed here and farmed the next year. My father had married again, had another wife, and she had 2 girls, and me and my brother, and that's where we grew up. Well, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, we taken and grew up together, and here about 8 years ago, one of the girls died in the city, and the other one died over here at Watonga. And about 7, 8 years ago, my brother died in Mesquite, California. And I'm the only one of my family that's living today. And I'm 82 years old. Yeah. What else, man?
When were you ever in the Army? In
Yeah,
service?
yeah. I was drafted in the Army, 1917, 20th day of October. That's when I was drafted in the Army. Drafted up to Stillwater, and we left there, a bunch of us, and they drafted us. The way they would draft us then, they write our names and put a little piece of paper and pin it on our coats, you know, and then they'd bunch us all up together and put us in the car, and we went from Stillwater to Arkansas City, and from Arkansas City on to Kansas City, and they just picking them up, you know. They started the first group of us at Paul's Valley, in Cushing, Drumright, and Orton, and all those places, you know, and got us all together. And in Kansas City, they put us all up, and the first time that we had seen saloons since we was grown, you know. And we all got off the train and went to the saloon, and they shut the doors. They wouldn't let us in, you know. And we couldn't get in. We went back to the Harvey House. We all eat, us and Nanny. And that night, rode all night. There's 18 cars of us. We rode all night. And before we got from Kansas City to Camp Sherman, Ohio, we had a train wreck, and we was all off the train, you know, and they was getting us off the car, just turned off the track, you know, didn't kill anymore. And they got up, and we went on, got us back on the track again, and we went on to Camp Sherman, Ohio, and when we got to Camp Sherman, Ohio, and they unloaded us all, they had us to undress and put our coats and things and guns and knives all in a pile. And then after they got all them, then they went and got us the uniforms and dished them out to us, you know, and had us undress and all that stuff that we didn't send back home. They set it the fire and burned it up. And the guns and knives and pistols thing, I don't know what they done with them, but that's what they done with them. And we stayed up there. Well, next thing they learned us how to left face, right face, and left hand, and right hand, and just like you're teaching some little children, you know. And they're teaching us that, and I forgot all that. Then they started us to march. And we learned to march, and then the next thing they learned us how to handle a rifle, and then they got us pretty well on that, and then they carried us to the rifle range, and they taught us how to shoot, you see. And then when they taught us how to shoot, then we went to load us on. They taught us how to put in good shape. Had us 6 months. We'd been in service, you know, 6-8 months. Been in service, and they sent us from Camp Sherman, Ohio, to New York. And we went to New York and placed some unloading, you know, and marched across. They cut the cars a little and put them out on the barge, and then scared us to Long Island. I know you hear Long Island broadcast on television now. But they sent us out there and put us in them little dog tents, and there's 8 of us in the tent. But we stayed over there as long, I guess, as a week or something like that, and they gave us up again to send us across. And the way they sent us across, they marched us up on the ship and give us each one a postcard. And when they give us a postcard, they would we'd write our name down there, and it was already printed. to send back home landed safe in France. We were still in Newport News. We still hadn't left there yet. And so that's the way they got, and they kept us there. And we don't know how many days and nights, but when we knew anything, all of us would go to sleep at night, had them little hammocks on the ship, alongside the wall. We'd get in there and sleep. And when we know anything the next morning, well, we was way out in the Atlantic, and we was 9 days and 9 nights going to France. And that we unloaded there, and it was 6 companies of us, and I guess it was about 1,200 men when they got off the ship, had to go to hospital. They got seasick, never been used to that trip, and the bread taken and mildew and the green, I have to do on that light bread. They turn it green, and they cook eggs with no grease, and we call them submarine eggs. And so we got across over there, and they put us in them pup tents, and tall as I am, while the little tents, 2 of us had to sleep together, and we slept with our head in the dry and our feet in the rain. And we had to half-nail shoes on, and one thing and another, like that. And, well, your grandpa and them, they went through the same thing, because, he was in service the same time I was. And so we got over there and we went to the front lines, went up in the Voyage Mountains on a test. And we went up there and stayed up there. We'd eat out them GI cans, and the Germans. We didn't know all white folks looked like to us. We didn't know one nation from the other, And they'd come over the mountain and talk to us and eat. And then they'd go back on the mountain, and they'd have a battery sitting on top of the mountain or up there somewhere. And they'd shoot down at us and bust out the bean cans and have us running all down in the creeks and one of them, taking cover and like that. And we stayed there until they called themselves, tempering us in, And we stayed there. And then shortly after that, we went left there, I forgot in France, out the Voyage Mountain, and went to a little place they called Parny. I can't speak it like it is. I know what it is, but I can't speak it. Parny Mousseau. And we taken and went there, a group of us, Lieutenant Major something his name was, I forgot. But anyhow, the captain was, first captain was Captain Lowe, and he was an infantry. He left us, we was engineers, and left us and went to put another captain over, Captain Turner, El Paso, Texas. And we served with him until the war was over. And then they carried us there, tested us in, carried us up on the front, up in the Argonne Forest, and kept us there, and that's where we fought, worked, built roads, and everything till it was over. And when just before they shipped us back to the United States, they held us kept building roads, had gravel roads like you see down here on Lincoln. And wherever the truck would dig out a little hole, we'd go along, put gravel back in that little hole. And we taken the flue and slept in Napoleon barracks. That was, I guess, 50 years, 100 years before we went over, but the Napoleon barracks, and made out of mud, about a dirt house, but this is barracks for soldiers that would happen. years and years ago, you know. And so we stayed in them until we was in Old Colonel Baker. So many of us was dying with the flu. So Old Colonel Baker and his wife come over and, you know, and had a ship back to the United States.
And that was World War I?
Two. Yeah, no, World War One.
World War
Yeah, that's
I.
right. Yeah.
Did anything, you know, funny things happen in boot camp?
In boot camp? Oh, yeah, girl. We were just as dumb as we could be and pull all them little funny tricks and one thing and another, and we'd get us a pass, you know, and go out, and we'd go to dances. We'd take and go to dances, and when we go to dances, or we'd go out and buy sandwiches, you know. That'd be a piece of meat and a piece of bread, and it cost us a dime. And we'd dance with the girls and get them one that cost a dime. We'd get a can of beer for a nickel or a dime, something like that. And get us a drink of whiskey, and we got so bad about when we'd go in them places, why, we'd just tell the man at the bar, say, give us a bottle of whiskey. He give us a bottle of whiskey, said, charge that to Uncle Sam. We'd just walk on out. And so we got it to the place in Camp Sherman, Ohio. But when they'd see us coming, they'd lock the door and wouldn't let us in when they'd go on down the street. Yeah, and any place, they'd see a bunch of us coming, they just lock the door and just go on down the street. No, can't come in here. Because they come in there, you know, they just sit in there, and if he didn't give it to them, just walk around the counter and get it and tell them, charge it to Uncle Sam. It wasn't mean like it is now, you know, and we just get by with most anything and get passes and come in late and outrun the guard and all that kind of stuff. We done everything like that. Walking guard, and sometimes you let them in and go to the guard house, and they wouldn't let you have no mail, and they'd feed you once a day, you know, and have you going out carrying buckets, and they'd fill up when you do something mean, they'd fill up a bucket, a big old bucket like you see these buckets, and place you can it with a bale, you know. They'd take the bale out and have you to carry it like this and walk nearly about as far as you get up to your house with a bucket of water. Just all slosh all over you and in your face like that, you know. Yeah. Now y'all gonna have to change that, cause the way I told it to you, it don't compete together, do it?
It's just fine, just however you tell it.
Yeah, cause you know, it's like I had Janie Mae's girl, her daughter. I come down here and had her to write, and I had your brother to write it. You know, him and Terry last year. I thought the way I told it to them, they'd have to, you know, rewrite it over again and, you know, get it together. Cause I figured that, you know, I tell it like I think about it, and I know it happened. I know it happened, you know, and just how it come into my mind. That's how we
want you to tell it. Just how it comes to you.
Yeah, and we take in the Argonne Forest. We operated railroads, things like that, you know, and we fix roads, and then we get on the front, you know, and guard and all like that, and get down in them valleys. Well, with a sign that we had down there, why, when you get ready to change guards, to keep the enemy from knowing who we were, like you, who didn't belong to the company, why, you'd come up and ask, you said, what is the password? And if you couldn't tell us the password, well, then we'd capture you. Now, our password was, and we was not going for, was whiskey. Now, if you couldn't give that password, you know, well, we put you in the guardhouse or kept you. You know you didn't belong, you know. And whatever your password was, well, that's what you said, but, you know, have to have a password. And so that's what we'd have to do. And they chill down there, and they had these I guess it's just like what they call now short wave. They'd have a telephone, be about as large as this machine is, and they fasten it on the breast. Well, they'd have something like a thread, or it'd be miles and miles, I guess, from there to the front, and you'd talk over that, and your voice would go and come, you know. And that's where we carried messages, and that's where they notify, you know, where the danger was or where they want us to move to and things like that, you know. And we had a bunch down there come from Mississippi, and we white boys, and they taken and come up to release us, and they said no, they wouldn't release no black soldiers. So they went off. We was in the Argonne Forest. They went off for, I guess, about a half mile from us. And you know, they taken and went to that camp, and they wouldn't allow you to smoke cigarettes. So they smoked cigarettes. The leader didn't have them to quit smoking cigarettes and bum and kill a lot of them down there like that. But you know, you had to obey, and if there's any light, well, that's where they would, you know, that bomb, and Germans would bomb wherever they see a signal at, you know. Well, that's where they come as shelling, and that's where they would do. So we taken them, whenever they'd have, we'd have in the signal we couldn't blow, and the fire that we used was something like alcohol in a little cup about like that, you know, and we'd fold it up just like a little, some kind of box of some kind of medicine, you know. You put that in your bag and keep that. And you had your gas mask here and your helmet up there. You take that unbutton that gas mask. I had mine here about 4 or 5 years ago, but it had done rotted, you know. We got our gas masks from England, and it had that thing here. You slip that thing over your head and put your hat on, and you think it was a bunch of cattle going up and down the road, snorting and going on to get breath, you know, through that thing, and you'd have a part of it in your mouth, part of it over your nostrils, you know, and that's the way they trained us to use them things, and we'd take them things, and them boys, they wouldn't release us, but they, you know, they got down there where they got out of range of other soldiers, and when we was over there, the Germans wanted to make us agreement that if we lay down, they'd give us a better chance in Germany, and we had in America. But Captain Turner, our leader, said there's lines that just fight them. So that's all we knew to do. That's what we did. Yeah. That's before we went back to Brest, France. We had all kind of, you know, skilled people. Of course, it wasn't skilled like it is now. They could shoeing horses and blacksmithing, working on the railroad, building railroads, driving trucks, driving cars, and all them things. We had, you know, people to do that. While you take out on the road, now, this day and time, you had a horse to shoe, you had to have a blacksmith shop to camp it. But we had boys then that were just out on the road anywhere, just taking, pick up his foot and put a shoe on him, called cold shoeing, you know, put a shoe on him. One, another, throw a shoe or lose a shoe. I just pick up his foot, put a shoe on it. We had what they call wagon trains, you know. It's like we have truck trains, and it's like we have trains on the railroad. We had wagon trains go all over the country, things like that.
Can you tell us about your schooling?
Oh, I never had no schooling. When I went to school, I had one book. Me and my brother had a book together. We didn't have no light, to read by. It was, we'd be laying down on the floor, had a fireplace, and put a pine knot on there so we could see how to read and write. We had spelling, we had reading, and we had arithmetic. That's all we had. Them three out of one book. We didn't have no book, we didn't have no school to go to. And the first school I ever went to, it was just a fella was out picking cotton, and I don't know how far he got, but he had he got $25 a month. His name was Cooper, and he told us we had them old straight benches, back on. He had a bunch of switches sitting up in the corner, and the water bucket. We get some home, get a bucket of water, because we got water out of a spring, out of a creek somewhere, and sits up there, and had a long gourd dipper. The gourd handle about that big, and it's about that long, had a dipper, and you reach down there and get your dipper of water. And we had what we swept the floor with. We didn't have no wood floor. What we swept the floor with was get some of these here. You all know what them broom weeds is, don't you?
Yes.
Well, they'd get up about that high and take them green broom weeds and tie them together and sweep the floor. Well, we'd have bring in wood for the fireplace, because the fire wouldn't go out. Because every morning, we'd take a stick and stir it up, put some more wood on there. And that was our education. And when you go to church for Sunday school, you got your Sunday school lesson out of the Bible, and you read the Sunday school lesson out of the Bible. Yeah.
Do you recall any of the, older black people, something that they did, like some of the outlaws and different things like that?
Oh, Jesse James, I knew them. And my father, they wanted my father to cook for the James boys. And we was a little place called Petty, Texas, in High Town. They'd taken, when they got ready to rob the train, they go somewhere where the train crew had unloaded a bunch of cross ties, and they'd pile the ties up on the train. That's where they stopped the train, And while the train crew was getting the ties off of the railroad, they'd rob the train and then take out through the wood. But they wasn't mean fellas. They'd take and help the poor people, You'd not just like your family. If you was had a family and you didn't have much to eat, they'd have you to cook whatever you had, and they would eat it and then give you so much money. That's where the Jesse James boys, because I'm not acquainted with the Cole Younger, but Jesse James boys, they was very, they robbed, taken from people, but not from people, but train, I don't know them robbing a bank or anything like that, but they'd rob a train, and that's the way they'd rob it. They'd have one fella out holding the horses out in the bushes, out somewhere in the woods, and they'd take and go through the train, take the mail sacks and get the money out of it. And then when they left, they'd take them cross ties off the track, But they'd wait till they got to a grade, going up a grade, when the train would slow down. And then they'd, before it got to the top of the hill, then they'd take and put all them ties on the railroad track.
Did you know any more of them?
Jesse James, man. No, I didn't know any more. I said Jesse James. I might have known them, but they don't come to my remember. And we'd have church back in them days. We'd have get from poles make a arbor, brush arbor, take our lanterns, them that had lanterns, and coal oil, and hang them up, you know, and have a lantern. Well, in 1908, why, Mr. McElroy, who used to live up here by junior high school, no, up here by Favor, I mean. Well, he would take and preach to us and have a lantern. And what, we didn't have no money, you know what we give him? Give him some meat, give him some molasses, give him some flour, give him some meal. And one thing, that's all we had to give him. Didn't have no money.
You all raised this?
Yeah, we raised all that, you know. We make molasses, you know, and we raise all that stuff. And give him chickens, if he give him chickens, you know, and give him a ham of meat, bunch of eggs, and give him some sugar, you know. See, the people in them days, they bought their food in the fall of the year when they was picking cotton, you know. And that's the only time, because they didn't have money year round like people do now, you know. And they'd buy 2-3 bottles of snuff and sack of tobacco, a bag of old Granger Twist, Country Gentleman, Run Johnny Run, and Prince Albert. If they hadn't any money, they'd get them some Prince Albert. But now cookies, the way they get us cookies, they had them in barrels, you know, and they take and you reach down the barrel and get you so many cookies, and they had sugar in barrels, and there's brown sugar, you know, and you take a dipper and dip it up and put it in the sack, and white sugar, we didn't have very much of that, and we were so poor that you take and get all that stuff, and we eat cornbread all the week, and get a big old biscuit, them homemade biscuits, you know. Break one, Henry get a half one, and me get a half one.
Okay, we're gonna stop and change.
Okay. Our first work I done when I left home, about 15 years old, was 50 cents a day cutting brush, you know, cutting and piling, cleaning up land, you know, cutting that. That is my earliest work that I done away from home.
And your latest work was what?
My latest work was farming. Started farming, and I'd worked for a family like your old family, you know. I'd work through the whole crop, and then they'd give me what 4 or 5 acres of cotton would make, you know, and that's where I'd get my pay. And girl, I taken and bought me a suit of clothes or 2 suits of clothes, and I had $100, and I thought I was the richest man in things down here. Yeah, I thought I was somebody.
Where'd you work at when, you know, in Guthrie, here in Guthrie?
When I first come to Guthrie? On the Interurban.
What is that?
That was something like a streetcar running from Oklahoma City to Guthrie and Enid and Kingfisher and down to North. That's what they call the Interurban. It had an electric wire above it, and then the electricity, you know, fed to the motor on the Interurban, and that's what we rode on. And that's my first work I done in Guthrie. Worked on the Interurban, and then I got my hand broke in working on that down here at Walnut at Oklahoma City on North Walker. I broke my hand, and when I broke my hand, my hand got well. I went back and worked one day, and they fired me. And then from then on, I just worked anyway. For farming, cutting wood, doing whatever I could get to do. 50 cents a day, 6 bits a day. Yeah.
You retired janitor?
Yeah, I retired janitor.
Where was you? Where did you janitor at?
Oh, I janitor at Page, 7 years. I retired then. I was 66 years old. I retired then. And later, I went to Guthrie and put in 9 years over there. And my first janitor, when I first started janitoring, was at the courthouse. I worked 11 years at the courthouse. Yeah.
Do you remember anything about Bill Pickett?
Yeah, seen him and talked to him. He was a cowboy on 101 Ranch, and he's the first man in history that brought bulldogging to the United States. I guess was the first man that done it in the United States. And he come from some other place, but when he come here down to Bolioka, one, he taken and had some cattle, and they wouldn't come in, he couldn't handle them somehow or another. He wasn't too good a roper, but he was a liner. He worked on the line, and he had the old cow that was giving him trouble. He just, not thinking, I guess he wasn't thinking about bulldogging. He just jumped off his horse over her head and taking his teeth and throwed her. And from then on, he comes to practicing that, Well, 101 Ranch hired him, and he done that. And the first rodeo that I can remember, 1989 up there, why he taken and was in them rodeos up there, riding and bulldogging, riding and roping and bulldogging. Yeah.
This lady's name was what now?
Lucille Mulhall. She's a white girl, and she rode a white horse. And you know what Mulhall is in all the Guthrie. Well, she was up there, and she was up there at the 101 Ranch, and they buy whiskey, and white folks would by the quart. And I had a little, the first car I bought was a brand new T-Model Ford. And me and my dad-in-law, and my boy went up there to the rodeo, and we honked that audible horn, you mash it like a button like that. Mm-hmm. And she we honked the horn, she cussed, and by God, come on by. She's sitting up on the big white horse, and had a lot of poor cattle. But I wasn't too well acquainted, but I knowed her, and then I knowed one of the guys down here, but I can't call his name now. Her brothers, some of her relation that lived up here at Mulhall. They had a ranch up at Mulhall, but I can't call his name now. But Lucille, I seen her and knew her, and my dad-in-law, and your great uncle, he used to work for him, George Frazier. Yeah, he used to work up there for him. All day for $1 a day. That's why he quit drinking milk. He said them cows so poor you had to help them up and then milk them. You had to help them up and then milk them. George Frazier said he quit drinking milk before he died. He didn't drink no more milk.
Mr. Walton, you lived during the Depression. Can you tell us anything about it?
When for Roosevelt to live? Yes, girl, yeah. Did I live? I lived tough, but I was trying to live. Yeah, well, during the Depression, why, we didn't have nothing on what we could rustle to eat, and we worked for 20 cents a an hour, 10 cents an hour what we worked for. And we worked for 50 cents, $1 a day. We taking and with the raised food, we couldn't sell it. And potatoes, we could get potatoes for 25 cents a bushel. These sweet potatoes, 25 cents a bushel. Buy molasses for 25 cents a gallon. And people just get eggs was 10, 15 cents a dozen. Chickens was a grown hen. If you'd wait till these cars come through here picking up the chickens, you get a fat hen, you get $1 for them on foot. And that's what really, and they give us them commodities. And at that time, they was taking and killing the cattle, so they had something like, they call some kind of disease, call it bang disease, and they killed all the cattle, and they wouldn't let us have them, and we'd just go around behind them and try to get a piece of that meat, and they couldn't get it. That year is so dry, the peaches just dried up on the tree, and we'd take and try to put them up, to make the preserves or candles, something like that. And they're so bitter. All of them we put up, we couldn't eat them. It tastes just like the seed taste, And that's what we had to, that's what we was on, and pick cotton, and for I think 50, 60 cents a hundred, like that.
Did the government ever try to, have any programs, help programs, to try to help any?
Yeah, they might have. I can't remember where they had programs, because my wife was a supervisor at the sewing room. And they had building these bridges, what they call the WPA, They had that. And the men worked on that, but I never did get to work on any of it. See, I was a old soldier, and I wasn't drawing no pension, but they wouldn't. They said I was disabled, and they was working guys that just had one leg and one arm and one eye, and they wouldn't give me a job on it, but they give my wife a job. They give my wife a job at the sewing room. And she worked there, and my kids going to school, and she operated that until I got the job at the courthouse. When I got the job at the courthouse, she quit at the sewing room. Well, the sewing room went away because the head quarters of it was over here, even at Kingfish or something. And so she taken them, and she quit, and I went to work. And later years, she taken sick and had a cancer. She had to quit altogether. And then later, the government started giving me a pension after I went to Jonathan down there at Page Street. And they gave me $63 and a dime. And it was, I think it was 8 of us. And she saved money out of $63, and I was getting $70 a month at the courthouse, getting about $120 some dollars a month, $130. And she taken and saved some money out of that. Yeah, when we bought this house, we give this house in Fort Loss, we give $500 for it, and come out now not paying for it then. We paid $200, and if I hadn't got that bonus from the Army, I don't know whether I'd have got it paid. See, I got $1,400 and got $1,400 and 14 cents.
Was it kind of hard for black people, the time you came to Oklahoma to find jobs and things?
All but working, cotton picking and working on the farm. But now first in town, see, I didn't come to town till, about 30, I guess, before I come to town. But we worked on the farm and we could get wood to cut, and cotton to chop, and cotton to pick, and corn to pick, and corn to chop, and stuff like that. We worked on the farm all the time, and that's the way we lived. I didn't know much about town work. We'd work in the country, work on the roads, on the county roads and like that. But I never had no experience of working in town until about 29 or 30 when we moved here to town. Yeah.
Do you have anything else to tell us?
Well, I about run out, ain't I, Trice? Yeah, just about run out now. Yeah, I know when I first moved here 45 years ago, there wasn't nobody in this block but me, and now you see everything in here is a soldier now. Esme's husband is a soldier, and Mr. German there, he's a soldier. Jimmy Webster, he's a soldier, and Robert Jones, he's a soldier. His daddy live up there with him, he's a soldier. So when I come here for 45, 46 years old, I'm in one house in this block, and you see it's done filled up, and all of them veterans, every one of them.
We'd like to thank you, Mr. Walton, for this interview.
All right, girl. I'm glad that I know that I could, and I hope y'all can get it together, because the way we got it there has to really be strung out.
Well, this is all right. This is Rhonda Trice interviewing Mr. Willie Walton, and the time is 7:20.